Yeah, started recording. Good morning. Let's start. So what we covered yesterday, we covered a few network scenarios. One is difference between L2 and L3, how the traffic is moving within the ESXi host when you have two machines on the same host on the same VLAN. Okay, and if you have two VMs or two virtual machines on the same host but on a different VLAN, how the traffic is moving, that we tested yesterday. Also, what is the difference between access port and the trunk port? Okay, so these two things we discussed yesterday. So today what we will do is we'll do a couple of more scenarios. One is, let me clear this off. One scenario is, let's say for example, uh, this. Yeah, here it is. If I go to ESXi host, okay, so there's a kernel port, right? So let me go to here. Why you need additional kernel ports? First thing, let's understand why we need additional kernel ports. One thing is clear, you can create additional kernel ports. If I'm saying why you need additional kernel ports means you can imagine creating additional kernel ports is possible. Now, my simple question is, you have one server. Okay, I'm not saying whether it is a physical or virtual, doesn't matter. Okay, you install the Windows and right, you install a Windows. Imagine physical or virtual, doesn't matter. Okay, and you have one network adapter. And how many IPs that you assign to this?
One network adapter is there.
One network adapter. Yes, I have one network adapter.
So we can assign
One switch. How many IPs that you can assign to this Windows server?
one IP address.
One IP address. Okay. If I want to assign a second IP address, is it possible?
No.
Uh, it is possible.
Yeah. In advance we can do it. Yeah.
No, it is possible, but you cannot assign a gateway to second IP. There's a limitation.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
if you want to do more googling and all, you can do it on the Windows part. Okay. Similarly,
Okay.
imagine I have one ESXi server. Okay, and I said
Mm-hmm.
one kernel port is there inside and two cables are connected, right? So switch, imagine I'm just representing one switch here. Okay, in real time you have multiple switches for the same functionality, for high availability and redundancy. Okay, so there are some port groups. If you want, you can assign additional kernel port on the switch. Means this ESXi host has IP called 192.168, right? 192.168, 30.51, right? Now, if I need, I can assign one more IP called 192.168, 30.151. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But if I want to assign some other IP called 192.168, 20.51, which is not possible because remember yesterday I told you one simple concept called access port. Access port will allow only one VLAN. If if these two cables are connected in physical switch, the ports are access ports. Those ports will allow only VLAN 30 data. They won't allow VLAN 20 data. So if I assign this range IP, it will not respond. Can we test this?
Yes.
I said if I assign any IP, this is one kernel port. I said multiple kernel ports are
Yeah, we can.
possible. Second kernel port, I'll assign this IP. It should work. Or third kernel port. If I assign this IP, it should not work on the same
Work.
switch. It's on the same switch. Let's
Yeah.
test this. Go to
Yes.
ESXi host, kernel port, add networking. So VM kernel adapter, new VM kernel adapter. You want to create a kernel adapter on the existing switch?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, on the existing switch. So on the existing switch, switch 0. Next, okay, network labeling, new, okay, so VM kernel 2. Okay, so what purpose you are using? You have multiple services that supports kernel port, vMotion, provisioning, fault tolerance, management, replication NFC, vSAN. These many things are there. So I'll select only management purpose. We'll discuss all these things later on when we are testing each and everything. Okay. Next,
Okay.
and IP
Before.
192.168.30.151. Let's see. Okay, 151, right? So I'll come out.
Yeah.
Ping 192.168.30.151. I might need a break now. Let's see. Because let me next.
Mm-hmm.
See, still not pinging, right? If I say finish, it should start pinging. Finish. Kernel port is created and start functioning. Got
Mm-hmm.
it? Now, if I
Yeah.
go to browser 192.168.30.151, see, it's working. So you will be able to
Yeah.
log in. You'll be able to log in into ESXi server with a new kernel port. What is the old kernel port? 51. What is the new one? 151 on the same host,
Okay.
right? So you can log into the same host with the different kernel port. See, the name is same. And you see, I have few VMs which we have created yesterday. And see, on the networking side, I have two kernel ports. One is management network is the old kernel port name, and the new kernel port I have assigned. Okay, and if I go to switches, two switches are there. Okay, kernel next, you have two kernels and two IPs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Do we use this for redundancy, or
no,
there
no,
are some other purpose also?
no. The redundancy is for VMK 0 for kernel port 0. We already have a redundancy. Redundancy means two cables, right? Why you
Yeah.
needed two different IPs? Okay, if you look at what all the services that we have on the listed, we have around 6 to 7
Mm-hmm.
services listed. I have selected only management. Okay, so I can create
Yeah.
7 different kernel ports and assign one kernel port for one service. Can't we do that?
Okay.
Possible?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
for that purpose, we will create multiple kernel ports. Okay, so I'll go back and create one more kernel port. Can I? Oh, I'm sorry, man. Can you please wait for 10 more minutes?
Yeah. No
Premium?
problem. No problem.
Okay, let me
Okay.
pause this recording because there is what we are discussing. Sorry for the delay. What we are discussing. So I said I have already created second kernel port. Let's go to this picture. Okay, let's go to this picture. So I have already created a second kernel port, and we are able to log in with same username and password, and you can manage your ESXi server with the second kernel port. Now I said I cannot, sorry, my bad. So I can assign this IP address to this kernel port, but you will not be able to ping this IP because on the access port I have allowed only VLAN 30. I haven't allowed VLAN 20, right? So due to that, you will not be able to ping this IP. Let's test this out. How to test? Go to ESXi host, switches, add networking, use kernel adapter. Okay, existing. What is this existing network? Strange. Nothing. Existing switch. That might be for a distributed switch. Okay, next. So what I will do? VM kernel 3. This time I will use it for vSphere replication. The service is for vSphere replication. Now 192.168.20.51 and the subnet and overwrite. Gateway is 20.1, right? Gateway. Next. So let me ping this 20.51. 20.51. Finish. So the third kernel port has been created 20.51, but you will not see it is not pinging. Huh? What is the reason? The reason is VLAN access port is not allowed. Access port. One second. At this level, at the physical switch level, this port is not configured to allow VLAN 20. Clear on this? Okay. So in short, you can add more kernel ports, but the problem is it should be in same VLAN if you are using access port. One second. Let me.
So if we can configure switch like that, so that it could allow two VLANs, then it will work, no?
Yes, yes. Okay, let me go to networking, and if you see three kernels, right? So first one is used for two purposes, second one is used for only one purpose, and third one is used for only one purpose. The purpose is different, the replication. Okay, we'll understand later. I mean, later on we'll see how this replication, vSAN, and the fault tolerance and vMotion, these services will work. That we'll see later on one by one. But for now, let's understand. You can create multiple kernel ports for multiple services. Clear?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now one more scenario is. I can say total app setup how it should be. I have host 1, right? I have host 2. I have host 3. Remember, you have three different hosts. But so far, what I did, I have created one kernel port and one port group with three different, one kernel port switch, another port group switch with three different port groups. Okay, but this is host 1. We never touched host 2 and 3. Okay, you need to remember, you need to replicate the same configuration here as well. Kernel and port groups, same configuration. And one condition is if you are giving the port group name VLAN 10. Okay, example. Here, if you give VLAN 10 here, if you give VLAN 10. So any difference in these three?
No.
Actually, there is a difference. Lowercase, uppercase, spaces,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Never ever mess with these things. Okay. So if you create a VLAN with this naming convention, you should follow the same naming convention here as well, and same naming convention here as well, and so on. N number of hosts you have in vCenter.
So VLAN name is case sensitive.
Sorry,
VLAN name is case sensitive.
you, it is not the VLAN name, by the way. It's a port group name. I just give the
Port
name as
group.
a VLAN 10. Okay, but we are creating port groups. We are not creating VLANs in L2. We are creating port groups which are logical mapped with your physical VLANs in the physical switch, right? So when you are creating a port groups, if you create a port group with this case sensitive on one host, you should follow the same naming convention across the VMware. You have 1,000 hosts. Yes, you should follow the best practices. You should follow the same naming convention across the 1,000 hosts. Okay, how to do that? Let's see. As of now, let's go to ESXi host, and on the first ESXi physical adapters, I have six physical adapters. On the second host, if you look at, only two. Let me get the physical adapters first. So how to get that? Go to original host. Okay, and second ESXi server, edit settings. I'll simply add four more network adapters. Okay, save it. Then restart. Then it will take few minutes. The second host, third host, do the same. Four more. Okay, save it and restart. What happened? This being restarted or not? Yeah, restarted. Okay, both the ESXis are now being restarted. Let's wait for a few minutes. So once they are rebooted, you will see, if you refresh here, you will see these two disconnected. Disconnected. If you refresh once again, this third one is also disconnected. Okay. I want to do something, man. Chrome, download, offline. How to download? Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Because I cannot allow the internet inside, so that is the reason. Let's see. I don't know if it was a Chrome or some some virus or not. Let's see. Okay, where it is? This one, right? So let's see here. I can't do anything if it is a virus.
We didn't download it from official site, no?
I don't have internet, right, on this machine. I am installing it on. It's working. Fine, man. Cool. So it's already installed. What I'll do? I'll just copy this. It will. Okay. So it is easy, man. So let me log in here. Right. What happened? What happened? Same thing, right? So excuse me. Let's try later on. Something wrong. It's okay.
It was asking to close the window.
Yeah, we'll do it later on. The servers are rebooting, right? So yeah. Hello.
Hello.
11:30. ये इंटरनेट इश्यूज के लिए. Okay. चलो. Sorry. Okay. So I have assigned new network adapters for both the servers. Now you will see six adapters on both the servers, right? Okay. So how to configure? I want to replicate the same configuration what we have here. So let's see. I don't require, by the way, I don't require three kernel ports. I'll remove it. Only one kernel port is enough, right? Just for our understanding how we can add and manage it, I've shown you. So let me remove this. Now you'll see switch 1 or sorry, vSphere standard switch 0, 2 cables and 1 IP, and switch 2 VLAN 10, 20, 40. Okay, let me do the same on the second host. First of all, manage physical adapters. So VMNIC 0 is there. I will add 1 to this. Now you got redundancy. Port groups, I don't want any default port groups. Remove it. Okay. If I go to networking now, you will see 10, 20, 40 VM network. VM network is still alive. Why it is showing? VM network is still alive in ESXi host 3. If I remove this, if I go to networking area, I just removed it. If I go to here, now you will see only 3. Just refresh. It should go. Yeah, right? Only 3. Now, on the second host, what I did on the second host, one switch is already configured properly. I need a second switch. Add networking, virtual machine, port groups. I need to add it, right? So I want to create a new switch now, not the existing switch. How many cables to the new switch? 2 cables. Done. Next. Now VLAN 10, ID 10. Next. Finish. So switch has been created. Now you come here and see only these 3 are showing up. Because if something is popping up here means across the data center you have a 10 host. In all the 10 hosts it should be the same, then only it will show you like this. The second one, what I will do, I'll do intentionally, I'll do some mistake. Port group. Next. Okay, existing switch only, right? This time I want to create a new port group on the existing switch. Okay, so this time I will give VLAN 20. VLAN 20 lowercase, remember. Finish. So on the second switch VLAN 20 has been created. Okay, if you go here you will see 2 VLAN 20s. 2 VLAN 20s means vCenter is treating both are different port groups. Understood? So be careful while creating port groups. Now I'll say edit settings VLAN 20. Okay, renamed. Now you go back and see only one. Got it what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to make sure these things when you are working with any customer. And moreover, you rarely get a chance to set up infra from scratch. So if you get the chance to set up all these things, you are lucky enough. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Well, we'll end 40. Now, first host and the second host configurations are completed. Both are running with the same configuration. Now, I need to work upon third host. Okay, so third host port group is already removed and there is no redundancy. Let me add a redundant port. Oh, sorry, redundant NIC. Done. Now with the high availability, I need to create a new switch now for port groups. I need to add two adapters. VLAN 10, VLAN ID is 10. Okay. Second port group. I'm sorry, existing switch only, right? VLAN 20, VLAN 20, 20. Existing switch. Again, VLAN 40, VLAN ID is 40.
40.
Done?
This network label should be case sensitive. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So go back and see properly configured. No mistakes so far. So you have to do the same thing. How many hosts that cluster can support? How many hosts that we can add into the cluster?
Forgot.
Okay. Man, you have to remember a few things. Okay, 64 hosts in this version, and I believe they're coming up with 96 hosts. 96, I believe, 98 or 96. Even I forgot. For latest version 7.0, which they are going to release it in. It is already released on March 10th, but
It is already
officially,
released.
sorry.
Actually, I got email from VMware. I subscribed and used it. So
It
I
is
think
released. They released
they
7.0. Okay, but the problem is you haven't got the downloads yet. For public, they haven't released the software yet. Okay, so maybe for dedicated customers or premium customers, they might have provided the software, but we haven't got anything yet. So that hopefully we will get in next 1 or 2 months.
No.
Okay, so now remember you have a cluster with 64 hosts. So how much time it took for me to configure the switches properly and port groups properly and kernel ports with high availability and all these things? Each host around 10 minutes, let's say. So I have a 64 host, okay, and you configured it for all the 64 hosts, and you spend around 2 days, and you configured it properly. Fine. Now the challenge is customer has requested new VLAN in physical switch. He can request at any point of time, right? Because customer has got a new business and he want to put all the business into a different VLAN and he don't want to keep along with these existing VLANs. Okay, so he requested network team to create a new VLAN in physical switch. The VLAN name is VLAN 99. Okay, example. So now you, as a VMware admin, as a infra admin, you have to create a port group on each host for new VLAN. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay, so there is a manual work involved in each step. If you want to modify something, you have to modify in every host. If you have a 64 host, you have to go to 65 host. Each and every host you have to go and manually modify the VLAN configurations, port group configurations, what all things that you want to perform, you have to perform on each host manually. So is there any way that I can do it from centralized location? Yes, there is a way.
I don't know.
Yes, there is a way. Okay, so the way you call it as, you understand this lab setup? Okay,
Yeah, I got it.
properly, you need to remember properly configure it. So I said there is a new VLAN requirement of 99. You have to go on each host and create it. It's a manual task. So how we can avoid, or how we can minimize this manual task? By using vSphere distributed switch. Okay, vSphere distributed switch. So far we covered standard switch, VSS, vSphere standard switch. Now tomorrow what we will do, we discuss about vSphere distributed switch and see how it functions.
Okay. Okay.
Clear? Understood?
Yeah.
Okay. So far in last 3 or 4 sessions, what we discussed about the networking is vSphere standard networking.
Standard.
All right. So there is another concept called distributed networking or distributed switch that we will discuss tomorrow. Okay. We'll stop here because Sunil is also not here, and if we go further, then he'll miss a couple of points. So we'll continue tomorrow same time. Okay.
Yeah. No
I'm really
problem.
sorry for the delay today. You waited for a long time, but
No problem.
we'll make sure tomorrow we'll complete the session on time. Okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me stop here. Okay. And I'll upload this video after some time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.